Welcome back to Ask a Mac. It's La'al.
Tom.
Question is, how do you get rid of a stalker? I don't know.
First of all, dealing with stalkers is not even a laughing matter. It's a very serious situation.
Scary.
Scary. It's a situation that could cost you your life, potentially. The first thing is to identify whatever red flags you see that this person could be crazy, and you have to address it immediately. Tell them, I'm in a relationship, whatever you got to say, and if they keep bothering you, then you just block them. I always try the nice approach first.
I think that's your problem.
But the reason why I go that route is because instead of rejecting them, to me, it's not a rejection. It's like, I'm sorry. I would love to, but I'm in a relationship. It's not a harsh rejection. I feel like a harsh rejection can trigger someone. Blocking somebody, then they find you on something else, that could piss them off. So I wouldn't want to piss them off in any way.
I don't even think telling them that you have a man is going to work. For somebody who's actually a stalker, it's a different mindset. And for a while, I think we took for granted that we don't have to deal with what girls got to deal with. One friend of mine told me she was working for like 2 years with this guy. He never spoke to her. Then one day he wrote her a love letter out of blood. And then he got fired and he kept circling the job. That's just not one of those people you can talk to and be like, hey, I'm really not interested in guys who write me letters out of blood.
Well, it just happened to me. This girl hits me up and says she can't subscribe to our channel because of our red flags video. She felt like we were describing her. She says, I'm the girl that calls 200 times. I was like, oh, that's funny. Laughing it off, you know. A couple minutes later, she asked for my phone number. Didn't want to say no, so I ignored her. She starts calling me on Facebook Messenger like 3 or 4 times. I didn't answer. Called me a couple more times. I didn't answer. Finally, as I work one day, I answer the phone. Hey, I'm at work right now and I got 3 customers in front of me. I can't talk to you. And she's like, oh, that's funny. I'm at work too. Okay, I gotta go. 15 minutes goes by. She calls me again on message. Calls me later that night, calls me in the morning, kept calling me over and over. Finally, I said to her, listen, I would like it if you please stop calling me. You started off by telling me you have a problem, calling people too much, and you're doing the exact same thing to me. This is very uncommon behavior. And I'm going to ask you politely to please stop.
It's not your looks.
No, she's a very pretty girl, but it would concern me. Even after blocking her, I still feel a little uncomfortable about the whole thing.
The problem is, I joke around all the time. I say silly shit and I'm just joking. Sometimes people say stuff and you think they're joking. So she was like, oh, I call guys 200 times. And you're like,
yeah,
oh.
I thought she was joking.
She was being honest. I had a girl that was doing that crazy stuff and I asked one of her friends, is she crazy? And her friend was like, well, a little crazy's good, right? No. Wrong answer.
Red flag. From this last experience, I think I have a new rule. If you call me 3 times in 10 minutes, that's all it takes to make me not interested anymore.
Yeah, because that type of stuff is scary. I've had 2 situations with stalkers. One, there was a girl that lived 2 states away from me, and she hit me up one day, kept ignoring her call, and she kept calling and calling and calling and calling and calling and calling. Next thing I know, I look out the window, and it's her SUV outside. This girl came 2 states away and drove to my house. And she just kept banging. I'm like, I'm ignoring this. Next thing I know, she's banging on my apartment door. I open the door and it's her. She's like, hey, I brought food. And I was like, what the fuck? Whatever. She came in.
She knew if I try hard enough, I'll find my way in that house.
The next day, I see one of my tenants and I'm like, I love you guys, but if you ever open the door for some girl that's banging on my door that I'm not letting in, I'm shooting one of y'all in the kneecap. He was like, I didn't let her in. And I was like, well, then tell Frank. And he was like, Frank was sleeping. And I was like, what the fuck? I go downstairs, my first floor, I gutted it. And then I put up that plastic sheeting and stapled it on every beam all the way down, all the way around. So it's like a nice tight quilt. Where the window is, it was all loose and hanging all the way to the door, which means she opened my window, pushed the plastic,
wow,
then climbed in.
Wow.
And a smart person would have just ducked under the plastic, but she went and slid along the wall and
pushed out all the staples
till she hit the door. I called her. I'm like, are you out of your mind? She's like, well, you weren't answering the door. So you break into my house? You weren't answering the phone. I was like,
don't ever come by here.
One thing I learned is you cannot try to reason with them and try to figure out what they're thinking because you can only see things from your point of view. So her mind is you weren't answering the phone, you answered the door. I had to do whatever I could to see you. That's what a crazy person does. Personal mental health issue. A rational person wouldn't do that. They'd be like, he's not answering. He mustn't want to be bothered.
Such a nice guy. You're crazy.
The girl who was calling me, she was calling me 4 times in a row. After I asked her to stop, she was, oh, I'm sorry. That's my pocket.
Switch pockets, bitch.
She knew she had a battle in her head where I can't stop calling them, but I know it's wrong.
I had a girl who would call me nonstop, text me 180 times in 1 hour. I'm not responding to any of them. She got some app where she can call me from different numbers. Oh, God. She's calling me from my son's number. She's calling me from my mother's number, my job's number. There's something wrong with you. She set up a fake Facebook profile of me. And then she's hitting on girls, trying to set up dates. And they're telling me, they're like, yo, you're hitting on me on this other site. And I'm like, how'd you know it wasn't me? And they're like, because the way I talk is very different from the way normal people talk. And,
Normal people, at least you know it.
and I ask her, I'm like, what is this for? You're not going to catch me out in anything. You're going to be there, and she's
Yeah.
going to be there, and
Like
I'm
I
not
said-
going to be there because I don't know nothing about this shit.
Like, you can't try to figure it out. Can't make sense of it.
You ever seen the Batman movie with the Joker?
Batman with the Joker? No. No.
Batman's like trying to figure out the Joker, and his butler's like, yo, some people just want to see the world burn. Some people don't make any sense, and you going to knock yourself out banging your head against the wall trying to make logic out of crazy. He may say it a different way.
Mental health issues.
I'm going to say you're nuts. So, ladies, how do you deal with a stalker? I don't know, because there's something wrong with that
You
mentality.
got to get rid of them. You have to document everything, because if you go for a restraining order, you can't just show up, I want a restraining order on this person. You need some documentation, some evidence of what's happening to you. Also, let people around you know. Make it public, so if something does happen to you,
Yes.
at least they know like who the guy who kidnapped you, whatever it could be.
Absolutely. Do not keep it a secret, and make sure he knows that it's public.
Tell him you got AIDS. Tell him you got herpes.
I have genital herpes.
No.
Tell him you got something, because I'm sure he'll leave you alone.
Yeah, but so will every other guy in the world after that. This is my answer. Get a crazy family member. You got a brother, a cousin or something that can address him. That's probably the safest thing.
No, I disagree. I'm not going to recommend that. Ask him Max not responsible for anybody hiring family members to knock somebody off.
I didn't say hire a
Basically,
family
is what
member.
you're saying.
No.
Okay.
Get a crazy family member and just be like, yo, leave my cousin alone. Ladies, do not try to be nice. Do not try to be dismissive. Address it publicly.
All right. Peace.
Bye.